Lads, what is going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be reacting to a brand new project on the channel called Slice the Cake, and I seen their monthly listeners just like 5 minutes ago and I was like, okay, this kind of makes things a little bit more interesting because these guys have got like very, very low monthly listeners. I would say like this is like the lowest monthly listener count that we've had on the channel in God knows how many months, or might be ever, to be honest. So not that that's always a big deal, because sometimes it can be a little bit like, okay, this is like an hour and 20 minutes of filming and then editing and then getting everything out and getting everything prepared for this video for like who's gonna watch it, you know. Like these guys don't have a massive following compared to other bands that I can be doing, but there is the flip side of that, where because of the response that I've gotten from you guys and the recommendations that these guys have received, it makes me a little bit more excited, because if I do really like them, it's like you're uncovering a band that is absolutely untouched in the grand scheme of things. Like 16,000 monthly listeners is not a lot in the grand scheme of things at all compared to some of the bands that have been suggested and we've been doing in the past. So guys, Slice the Cake, Odyssey to the West. I believe, just on my own quick bit of background research, it says Slice the Cake is an online metal collaboration or virtual band, which is interesting in its own right, comprising of 3 men from different countries: vocalist Gareth Mason from England, guitarist / drummer Jonas Johansson from Sweden. That's the most Swedish name I've ever seen. Jonas Johansson. And bassist Jack Richardson from Australia. Okay, so Australia and Sweden straight away, you know it's going to be magic. The group combine technical death metal and metalcore with symphonic bits. So I mean, that is a really weird combination of music, but look, I'm excited to get into this one, lads. So if you are too, please do drop a like in this video. If you have not heard of these guys and this is the first time checking them out, then treat it as a first listen the way I am. You know, stick on some headphones and let's get into it, lads. Make sure you leave a like. Make sure you're sub to the channel. Patreon.com/DrewFortune. And let's go. I've also been told to put the lyrics on screen because they are very important for this album. So I'll do my best to keep up, but obviously mainly about just enjoying the music and seeing if I actually fuck with the band. Because who cares about the lyrics if you don't even fuck with the band, you know? Because I'm not going to go back to it in that case.
So, here we find ourselves again. One might think it's such a pity to be standing on the razor's edge. No, how welcome would be ashamed, or so the dreams appear to say. Oh, see, they tell of numb and wretched men who've strayed far from the path, and they tell of nameless, faceless men whose every detail shrouds itself in myth. And with poeticism, with insight and with tragic glee. Oh, what does this speak of me if I look on so curious and unappeased? Would such a thing be read and understood so easily? If it was to be, then surely it would be. This surely is a dichotomy so prevalent and irrevocably elegant. So I've come to see. Then why does it hold me so? What agency is mine to bring to a union with the preordained? What of the fates to gain from a destitute and witless being, long discarded by the way? So is this a treatise or is this a game? Is this pleasure or is this pain? Or is there something more elusive? Perhaps this could be destiny. But as long as I draw breath, I will not let it make a fool of me. Lest I wander to the gallows and hang until I'm dead. I've seen the mountain in my dreams, and I shall see it till the end.
Goosebumps. Goosebumps. Great start. Great fucking start to an album. This is cinematic music right here. That was like the felt like the intro to a movie as opposed to an album. Lyrics aren't synced for this one, so just bear with me. There's the deathcore anyway. Death metal. On, roll into that metalcore. There's so much happening in this mix right now. I'm trying to wrap my head around what's going on. Drumming's really sticking out to me right now. It's crazy. Very death metal. Obviously not the biggest fan, but this is power. Oh, between the buried me sound riff. Sounds like White Walls. Not anymore. That really reminds that chuggy bam, 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 bam. What does that remind me of? Gojira, a bit like Gojira, isn't it? Yeah, that tone is very Gojira-esque. feels kind of wrong to even stop this right now. Let's see how it transitions. Oh, that was so smooth, man. Okay, let me just stop it here real quick, just to give my thoughts so far. So that second track wasn't as engaging for me as track number one. A lot to do with the fact that I was able to keep up with the lyrics in track number one. Obviously, Spotify just doesn't sync certain songs for whatever reason. So in my own time, I will go back and, you know, check out the lyrics for myself, should I enjoy the rest of the project. But so far, very, very cinematic, very different to anything I've heard before. The start of the second track, which was the one we just came off the back of listening to there, the intro was like, to be honest, the whole mix was very, very loud. And again, there's a lot of nuance in certain bands that you kind of just get to know when you actually know the band and you've heard other, you know, projects and different songs by them. So when it is a very loud mix, it's quite hard to pinpoint what's going on. I heard very prominent double bass drums. Like that was, is it double bass drum? The double kick drum. That was fucking ridiculously paced. That was one of the main things that was really, like, you know, stood out to me in the mix. But everything else was very, very death metal, which I have been, you know, obviously on the record, I'm beating a dead horse at this point. I'm not the biggest fan of that tempo, that pacing, but there was like a chuggier, like not so much like a metalcore sound, but there was like a chuggier, almost groovier segment that kind of kept, you know, passing back and forth between that death metal sound and then a little bit more groovy. So it did keep me a little bit engaged, but I think if it wasn't for that, I probably would have fell off a bit with, you know, it was a lot to take in. It was kind of like, what is actually happening right now? A lot of different sounds, a lot of noise in the mix. So yeah, again, not my favorite, but the intro itself kind of like has set this tone for the album, and it feels like we're kind of being brought on this story, you know. Very, very unique intro. So yeah, look, let's continue on with this. I do like the way this intro has started. It sounds like we've got like a bit of a, I think that was bass to start this off. So we'll see. But just the fact that these guys like aren't physically with each other is also quite impressive. But yeah, let's keep going. I don't know if that actually, that's just the guitar, is it? I don't think it's even bass. Maybe a little undertone of bass, but that's a pretty cool little riff though. Oh, now we're talking. This is my kind of riff now. Oh, that goes so hard. This is fucking fantastic. The main thing that sticks out to me when you hear like bands as talented with such low monthly listeners is that like there's just an endless amount of, you know, artists, bands, creatives out there that are just completely undiscovered that are this talented, because these guys sound so established. Again, I don't know how many other projects they have, if any, but this is like such a brilliantly crafted piece of work. Like even the death metal parts, I gotta give credit where credit's due. Like the drumming segments in it like feel like tasteful, you know. They sound classy to me. Like a lot of the time I feel like what throws me off with a lot of death metal and, you know, elements of deathcore is it just feels too repetitive and like not very well thought out. I'm sure there's like technicalities to it and stuff that, like, you know, go into it, but it just feels like it's just trying to slam you for the sake of it. Whereas this is like flowing so beautifully, you know. There's cleans and then it goes into some of the death metal nuance, and then it like rolls back into a nice groove and it continues on with the track. Like it's not just all focused around this pounding your head in with these, you know, I think it's a double bass, is that what they call it in the drumming? I'm not a drummer at all, so I don't really know the full scope of terminology, but it feels tasteful to me is probably the best way of describing that. So yeah, this track is very, very good so far. I'm loving all the different sounds, and the harmonic that's in the guitar riff as well at the end of the riff is beautiful. It reminds me of I think it's Catatonia's Soil Song. Just a real, you know, subtle harmonic in the riff, just sounds so good, breaks everything up. Opening it up, give it a bit of space to breathe, sounds good. Sounds Opeth again. I feel like I'm about to get absolutely slam dunked here. Oh, they're teasing it. Man, who are these guys? What the fuck? They're so goddamn, like, tight. Oh, that hits so hard. Oh, lads, what have you suggested? Guys could be the bridge that I finally needed to start like enjoying a deathcore band or a death metal band. What? How have these got such a low listener count on Spotify? I know it doesn't mean much. This is so fucking well crafted. That bass is creating so much tension. That is so heavy. Yeah, like it just feels so a part of the storyline when the death metal vocals come in and the death metal instrumentals. Like it doesn't feel like so repetitive and forced that I just hate it, you know? Which is the case with a lot of the death metal music that I listen to. And deathcore. It feels like it's the perfect, like, balance. Again, the lyrics are not syncing for this one. So again, look, I'm not paying too much attention to the lyrics. There's so much else going on in the mix that, like, it's kind of hard to be on top of the lyrics as well. But this is fantastic. Here's the clean vocals or the talking segment.
What is home but a place to lay one's head? Does the pilgrim's way see bliss in a stagnant glimpse? Or is there something to be said for the comfort of the nest? Because it doesn't seem so clear to me anymore.
The only lyrics I could pick from that was when he said stone and silver. The rest was quite hard to pick up on. But again, I'll catch all this at a later date. That to me right there is so unique, how they go from like a very death metal pacing with the really quick drums to like a really open space like metalcore sound, which I know obviously is in the description that I read out at the start. It was kind of, you know, emphasizing the fact that they're kind of like death metal slash metalcore slash this kind of like sci-fi symphonic sound, which I haven't heard too much of. Maybe it will come a little bit more. I know that's maybe more so in the kind of in the spoken parts. Maybe that's where that's picking up on, but like that transition is so good and it keeps it more engaging, because I think if I just keep listening to those repetitive deathcore death metal drums, it's just kind of like losing me a bit, and I feel like I just kind of start zoning out a bit. But it keeps it so engaging and opens into this, like, you know, open space din sugar guitar riffs that are so much more common in metalcore, you know. But yeah, this is fucking phenomenal, lads. It's a lot to take in, but it's very fucking good. feel like a lot of the death metal projects, deathcore projects that I've listened to, like, are primarily this sound, and I'm just like, I just sit here for the whole video like this. But this, you just don't really know what's coming next, you know? Like, that could have easily broken down into a more traditionally metalcore breakdown there, you know? But obviously, end of the track, it's fading out. But yeah, all of these tracks so far have been like part 1s and 2s of different, you know, sequences. So I'm sure there'll be a good storyline between each one, which I'll have to keep up with. It looks like the whole album is kind of like pieced together with small subplots. I think this is a new plot now, so maybe it's all like different stories within an overarching theme. I don't know. Again, 1, the lyrics aren't syncing on some of the tracks, and 2, is just so much going on, so I will pay attention to my own time. But also leave comments down below, because it always helps being able to get other people's perspectives, because sometimes the lyrics can be open to interpretation. But I feel like this is one of them bands that would have like its own Reddit page where people like dissect the lyrics and give their own interpretation, you know? But let me know in the comments, even if it's just 1 track, 2 tracks, or if you want to give me the whole album breakdown. The more information, the better.
Passage though. What world would such things be?
That English accent just makes it so like cinematic.
If I found she gazing back at me as the second night descends. Time steals us all away one day, does it not? It robs us of the things we want to hold on to the most. Believe me when I say that it lies in wait for no man or woman to make their haste. Just as easily 1,000 years would go to waste. The work is all the same, the body I have got is it not? Perhaps it is a plot I've lost. Perhaps I've lost my way. At this point, am I not the same? Am I not treading the one and only pilgrim's westward way? To do the workings of the one and only thing. Have I not come this very way? Such of higher things at stake. I have seen it manifest, and I have seen it ache. And I have been the squander, and I have been the mirth as their eyes have had from heaven sent to guide them to the verge as they foster their impurity and mock the very way in which the nourishing and the murmuring shall spring from night to day.
This is like if Corey Taylor went to Cambridge.
And speak the poison word, one of the anniversary, the purity result. Oh, what a shame, oh, what a tragedy it is, for these words to fall upon that day and true to never free source of truth. Oh, what a fool of man, to play with a babe, it's a strange human man with the wisdom of the
This is so smooth, man. The way it, like, I'm gonna pause it here. I don't know if this is bad timing to pause, but the way like the vocal, like narrator sounding vocals came in at the start and progressively got more like aggressive, and then before we knew it, we were kind of like in this massive wall of death metal sound. So it was, although it, like if you skip forward, it's quite abrupt, but the way it flowed into it was just so brilliant. To go from literally the most mellow sounding English accent to like sounding more and more like an English Corey Taylor, all the way into this, again, this just crashing of sound, which is so good. Like, and again, the sound that we kind of eventually got to isn't necessarily my favorite, as you guys all know, but it just feels right because it does feel like more in the context of a movie as opposed to an album at this point. Like I'm not even really like treating this as, obviously, okay, it doesn't really make sense to say I'm not treating it as music, but I'm seeing the music in a different light. Whereas a lot of the like death metal projects I listen to, I don't feel the cinema side to it, you know. I don't feel the storytelling side to it. I just hear this noise and it just doesn't feel structured. I can't speak for all projects, but a lot of the death metal that I've heard hasn't felt very well structured. And even like, that's not to say all the music that I do listen to is structured. I just feel like it makes up for it in other fields because it might be very groovy, it might be very melodic, it might have more elements of music that I personally really enjoy. So this one is obviously really like, feels like it's taking you on this journey, and there's very few albums that I've come across that can really do that very well, and this album just feels like it's doing it very well, and that's without any lyrics in context. So I'm also looking forward to hearing this again with the lyrics more prominent and paying more attention to that, because then it just makes everything else hit so much harder as well. So and from what you guys said, the lyrics are very, very important, so we'll get to it.
And I a thousand more. His nameless faceless restless men who nightly reach death's door.
Even that like tempo switch is just so engaging. And again, Opeth sounding guitars, a little bit like Animals as Leaders as well. Now this is just different. Can't get over how good that piano worked in the mix in that last track. Oh my god, it was so fucking beautiful. I don't even have time to give my thoughts. This is just going straight into it.
Reality.
dissonance as well. It's just so eerie, so creepy. Oh my god, that drummer's crazy. Oh, he's still going. This is an absolutely ridiculous project. Wow, guys, I can't lie. When I first seen Slice the Cake start to get mentioned on Patreon and on YouTube, I kind of like assumed on the name that it was just like a meme band, or like just by default I just wasn't really taking them that serious with the name Slice the Cake. But I couldn't have been less or more wrong, I should say. These guys are beyond talented. Like, every single member of the band is absolutely destroying it. I couldn't help but notice the fills that the drummer was pulling off there, and it's just like, although I'm not a drummer, I can obviously appreciate when someone is just absolutely smashing their specific instruments, and the drumming really stood out to me on that one. It was like this kind of eerie dissonance that was literally from minute 1 of the track all the way to the end, and it's just that atmosphere that's created in it is just giving this such a massive feel to it. Not even like a big room feel to it. It's more like a I don't want to say spiritual either, but it's literally like this, like, it's almost taking you to this imaginative realm. It's like literally that cinematic feel, that movie feel, which is, again, very, very rare that an album can really pull that off, and these guys are absolutely destroying it. This album came out in 2016, I believe. What's that, like 6 years ago? So interested to see what other projects these guys have, if any, and interested to learn more about the dynamic of how they can be like this band. Have they ever actually, like, I'm assuming they've probably met each other in person at some point, but it's mind-blowing to think that this like these guys only have 16,000 monthly listeners. Like, the talent, I get it, it's not exactly a massively popular genre in the grand scheme of things. I mean, metal in general isn't the most popular genre from a mainstream standpoint and from like a numbers standpoint. But this in particular is obviously within, metal, which is already small enough. It's very niche, so I'm not expecting it to have massive amount of views, but even like 16,000 is like crazy low. So lads, run this one up. I don't know if these guys are still working away on projects, but I hope they are, because this stuff is phenomenal, and if they've had 6 years to improve on that, I can only imagine how good they are now. So fill me in on all that kind of thing. But yeah, let's just keep going. Castle in the Sky Part 2, Pieces of Ruins. Castles in the Sky, that was a Cascada song back in the day. That was the EDM Drew days. There's a no, is that Castles in the Sky? That's not Cascada. Hold on, that's one of them. There's a place in the night, and I know where what castles it? What a track. I can't get over how good that piano was at the outro to, I think it was not the last track, it was the track before.
I thought I found love, looking tethered to the siren song. Even though you were near, I was empty. It must have been so pain to see. Oh, how I injured my love, singing westward songs until the setting sun. My suffering is so. If nothing else, if nothing else, oh, teardrops falling from moonlit eyes. They don't mind or terrorize a way in which we covered and held our candles lit with one heart beating, one mind leaping. This is a way that you can't find.
I'm guessing this is maybe like backing vocals from the Swedish vocalist or the Australian guy. It doesn't sound the same narration vocals from the English lead singer.
This is a way that we can use it.
I also shouldn't be surprised this is so good, like having read that they're Australian, Swedish and English, like the perfect combo for a metal lineup.
In the sky, my darkened eyes and your stormy skies won't warn house our disarray. But why? Our love is a furnace that kills itself when just as well every smell be so. This is a way that you can This is a way in which is transfixed in your eyes like beacons they guide my way to a special place, your castle in the sky. And I don't like no road, and I don't theorize no for dreams recall our future selves awake and nowhere. I know I'll see you there tonight in your castle in the
I think this is the track on the album that is like the one that ends up growing on you the most, where you come back to it and you're like a bit of a sleeper. But I feel like this is that track that you kind of like hear when you're just driving one day and you're like, you completely forget it exists, and then all of a sudden you're just absolutely taken away by it, or even singing along with it, and then it all just feels so nostalgic and you're like, I remember hearing this for the first time. Didn't hit with me that much. I feel like this is that track on this album. I can't get over how good these guys are for the lack of monthly listeners. Again, I know the monthly listeners can be like paired to how frequently they release music and that kind of thing, so it's kind of hard to gauge, but still, that's so low. Let me see when the last, like what year their last project was. Yeah, so this is their last project. 6 years ago. So
There is a hollowness, shape without form, held in concentric circles splayed against the canvas. Deep red, veins in hand with epitomes and documents of what has ceased to be. What was least to me, a dying light in fragile arms, an art to miss your victory march for me to chase, for me to run, for me to torment you and I, until we fall again amidst the calm and cooling breeze, amidst our spiritual disease, as our shadows stretch across the land. This is a twilight of my very universe, so I fear the end is there, as though time itself will be fit by grace to crawl and to walk, to see as fit without to be. But surely this is but a heinous vision. The order is so very apparent still. Out of chaos, I feel as though I've fallen short. The myriad of misanthropes I've slain and had reborn. The rising tide of shedded skin that by my hands was wrought. The countless names and faces of a destitute and windless being. Oh, discarded by the way. Oh, what a pity it may be to balk at one's mortality. For with him but a blink, all is naught but dust and ash, soil and smoke, oil and water. Oh, and the whispering of the winds as I propagate the
oh,
Still, a temple stands amidst the smoulders, does it not? Did you not think that the pilgrim's way would be fraught with the trials and the tests of your hopes and fears laid bare upon the rocks? What great cowardice is on display, with your writhing and your self-dismay? Are you a man? Are you a mouse? Or are you but a foolish child who's come to cry out in the middle of the night? Or is it that you're divine, born to live and born to die as the waxing and the waning of the tides? Have you come to cry? Have you come to revel in the imposition of your exile? Tell me, pilgrim, what is it that you seek? Because it's all so simple. Can't you see?
oh man, stop that. Just loop this all the way out, please. Loop it all the way out. Yes, they're doing it. They're doing it. Don't stop. Okay, they had to bring back the death metal. They had to bring it back. I can't get over how good this is. Alright, that's freaky as fuck. It's actually Halloween today when I'm recording this as well. Fitting the theme. You see, it's all tied in together. Like even the I entered darkened waters after just hearing that. Wait, are these the same lyrics? Are these synced? Maybe they're not the lyrics to this. Okay, they are. They are. So yeah, we've heard him enter into darkened waters, and now he's speaking about it. But that last track, man, was something so different. The female vocalist as well. I won't say vocalist, the female narrator, so to speak. I was just about to say that this part reminded me of Between the Buried and Me as well. The weirdness that was going on. Then it kind of dropped into that little, like, I always call it like the carnival sounding. Here. It's like kind of creepy. Yeah, this is really like Between the Buried and Me. Theatrics is just something else.
So who am I to mourn a night spilling into the world within its grasp. Oh, when all becomes but ash and rust, and all collapses into dust. Can a future
I would love to be a fly on the wall for these studio sessions, whether it be as a group, because I know they are like an E band or whatever you want to call it. Whether it's just him recording in a studio by himself, I don't know the entire setup, whatever's going on, but I would love to see like the raw emotion that goes into getting these across, because this sounds more like a voice actor as opposed to, you know, the vocalist of a metal band. So shout out to what is his name again? Vocalist Gareth Mason from England. He is absolutely unbelievable. One of the most unique vocalists I've heard in a long time. So Gareth Mason, if you're watching, shout out to you, my friends. You are absolutely fucking phenomenal. I'm assuming that is him and not one of the other members. But yeah, this is Between the Buried and Me all over. Just that weird... It's even talking about the Dark Carnival. That's what I spoke about already. It has a carnival sound to it. Realized the actual track is called The Dark Carnival. I never even copped that. Oh, he's so diverse. The ranges he's hitting, the weirdness of certain segments as well is just scary how talented some people are and just not recognized for it on a large scale. Crazy. They've got a lot of these kind of like bassy intros. Again, is that even bass? It almost sounds like a guitar. Is it bass or guitar? It sounds like a very low-tuned guitar. Oh, it's got to be bass, surely. The tone of it is making me think it's a guitar, though. Okay, I'm leaning more on bass now. Let me know. Bass, guitar? I don't know. Is it a bass or guitar? That kind of symphonic sound there speaking about.
So readily one would see the other dredge up imagery so biblically, flagellating lyrically. My sense of self for your vanity.
Kind of sounds like Marcus Bridge from North Lane a little bit as well. They're in Talking Heads off of their Alien album.
Even if only for its own sake. I mean, after all, such arduous and fitful ways into the deep would be wasted if I did not summarize and elucidate this curious circle that began so long ago.
What is it about a breakdown right before just having a that makes it so much better? This track has kind of grown on me a little bit. At the start, I was like, the midway point, I was kind of just like, felt like it was a bit repetitive, but it's just slowly been building. Dissonance is so prominent in the mix again, so loud. This mix is ridiculously loud. But we're really getting to this like climactic moment now in the album, you can just feel it. trying to remember what the track is that I'm thinking of. That segment really reminded me of the way it kind of like surprise broke down. It just happened very abruptly. I can't think of it. But we're about to transition to the second last track, which is called Destiny's Fool. And then The Holy Mountain is the last track. Let's go. Again, lyrics not properly synced. Weird how some tracks just don't sync. But it's still, well, they are there, but they just don't go, like they should move automatically with it.
So tell me what you see. Do you see anguish or see ecstasy? It's worrying what you might find of me without the poetry to save my face, to save my skin. It's so delicate. I ripped him from limb, tore it from soil to stone. How much shall I be held in this prison? Sold from void to void, this master, oh no, it is infinite. Destiny's
This is one of the best vocal performances I've heard, not just from the overall sound of his vocals, but the just the actual performance in itself. It's so theatrical, so engaging, so unique, like nothing I've actually even heard before remotely. Like, there's no hiding of the accent. It's so prominent, so on display, so center stage. It feels like he's like auditioning for a piece or something and just putting all of his emotion into it.
So tell me what you think.
You can like hear his like descent into madness. So it feels like it's like a part of the Joker or something. I don't know. Like this devil character is like kind of coming out of him the odd time with the death metal vocals, where he goes real demon mode. Just goes to show, lads, never judge a book by its cover, or never judge an artist or a band by their monthly listens on Spotify.
Just as easily the story could be you or me. We all travel universally. Poetry and artwork from our fears and from our mystery. Oh, what have I to gain from writing of my pain, when just as well I could write from happiness? Oh, what have I to gain when here I am again, pouring my shadow into song? It's been all too fucking long since I wrote for simplicity's sake.
Interesting lyrics.
Feel my friend, tell me how you wake. Tell me all the same what you think this could mean. But no, it's going to
The outro or the last bits of albums, especially these prog albums that are like an hour and 20 minutes long, can always be very hard to get a good judge, because naturally you kind of get a little bit more tired as the album goes on. So multiple listens is essential. There's our harmonic again. Outro track, let's go. You guys really got to give me a breakdown on these, on the lyrical content of this album, because musically it's absolutely unbelievable.
So with all that said and done, here's the truth of the matter. No masks, no games. Not anymore.
He sounds like he has the same vocals as Amos from Tesseract.
See, I brought this upon myself, but let it not be said that this was anything but spurious at its very best. The tides of change have ebbed and flowed between a multitude of ones and zeros. Was it not clear from the start that this was all to be transient? How does one reconcile the ramifications of a tale that's no longer relevant? The answer is, you don't. Because even if it's no longer relevant to me, it's still relevant to someone. And a story once told will speak to those still headlong in a storm, still torn asunder and dashed against the rocks. Oh, westward men, yo, faceless men, oh, men of race of rose. Oh, darker souls still yet to come. Walk all you want and all you sane to tread your solid path, where the fishes and your sorrow heals. Before your holy mount, but mark my words, the storm will come again. It always comes again, and in its clutches will they lay the madness and the ecstasy of the
literally covered in chills right now. And that's saying a lot when it's fucking this kind of an outro. You know me. This is not me. But that was absolutely phenomenal. I'm absolutely blown away by how good that was. I'm a little bit speechless, to be honest. Like, it's crazy to even fathom that it's possible to be this talented and not really, like... Again, I don't really know anything about these guys at all, so I don't really know what they're doing right now. But, like, man... feels like with this kind of talent, they should be, like... staple names in this, in the prog scene, you know? That is absolutely mind-blowingly good. Again, I always go back to the death metal side of things and deathcore and the vocals, the tempo, the overall sound. Never really resonates with me, but when done correctly, I feel like it just has a place, and this was the perfect example of how it can be done sparingly and not, like, you know, tasteful. Not just being very loud and intense for the sake of being loud and very intense and like showing off that they're very powerful and, you know, they can keep this high intensity and this this tempo for a long period of time. Again, I'm sure there's more to that. I know a lot of people do actually just love the you know, the intensity of death metal and that kind of thing, but it's just not really for me. But this this album really, like, could be the first, I won't say it's fully death metal, but it definitely has a lot of death metal influences that could, like, bridge the gap for me and a lot of, you know, other death metal projects. Now, again, it's never going to be my favorite, maybe some way down the line, but this is actually giving me a little bit of hope, because that was actually one of the questions I got in the recent Patreon Q&A was, do I think I'll ever come to actually like death metal and deathcore and that kind of thing? And my answer was pretty straightforward. Like I just said, obviously I can't see the future, so I don't really know, but this has given me a little bit of hope. Not even hope, because ultimately I don't really care. Like, you know, whatever music tastes, you know, I have down the line, it can only happen naturally, you know. It's not something you have to really, like, you know, try and force, I guess. But it's definitely given me maybe a different opinion on, you know, I never really seen myself. I kind of answered by saying I can't really tell, but I also don't think I ever will down the line. But I think if done very well, like this, it's definitely something I could see myself coming around to a lot more in the future, you know. But let's get to a rating, because honestly, like I was kind of saying there at one of the last tracks, it's like a lot to take in with this music. There's so much going on. It can be like quite taxing. It's quite hard to stay fully alert for an entire album like that, especially when it's so good. You know, in the context of all these lights shining on me, it can be quite draining. So it's hard to stay as attentive as I have been for the first, like, kind of 40-50 minutes. But yeah, man. So I think the last kind of 2-3 tracks can be a bit hard to really get a good opinion on, because, like I said, you do get a little fatigued from the lights and just generally, like, paying attention to the music a lot more than you would just on a very passive or, you know, casual listen that you might have at home by yourself. But yeah, man, that was unbelievably good. Unfucking believably good. I'm gonna have to listen to that a few more times. Like I said, I'll be paying close attention to the comment section to see, maybe even just fill me in on the lyrical content side of things, because I'll have to do my own, you know, in my own time as well. But give me maybe a broad scale of what the story is about, and then when I listen to it again in my own time a few times, I'll be able to kind of pick up on, you know, the lyrics that I'm hearing paired with the explanation that you guys have given me, and start to really piece together the whole story and just the overall feel of the album. But rating wise, lads, this one is gonna be up there. Let's be honest, I have to be fair with this one. That is this feels like a masterpiece within this genre, man. Like, it's hard to see that as anything else than a masterpiece, you know. Everything just felt so crisp. It had that, like, spice to it that made it different to anything else. I think the vocalist really played a big part in that, outside of the vocalist, I think everything was very, very good. Very, very good. Very, very good. But I think the how unique the vocalist was, how talented he was, talented he was really separates it from anything else I've heard before. So I think that really needs to be taken into account. But man, I think the overall tempo, the pacing, I'm sure from what you guys have described is the storyline, just the theatrical sound, the cinematic sound was so good. The way that everything was delivered was perfect. I gotta say that's a 9.5 album. That's a 9.5. Like, yeah, that's a 9.5 easily. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how like just there is so many, like, because I was kind of like, you know, I've done a lot of albums and stuff. And you almost think to myself sometimes, what if I run out of things to do someday? And I'm just like, it's not even remotely possible to get near finishing, you know, just being out of albums to like check out. It's just, especially when you have bands that are literally like buried deep under all these other bands that have like so few monthly listeners and like relatively unknown in the grand scheme of things, and like that's just one of their projects, and it's just like buried between all this, and it's like it's crazy. But lads, look, I'm rambling on here. I'm gonna wrap this one up. If you did enjoy, and let me know as well if this is the first time that you guys have ever heard this band. I'd be interested to see, because like I said, they haven't got a massive following. I am going to be interested to see how this performs on YouTube, because like I said, naturally a lot of people will click on videos when it's like a popular band, or if it's a band that they know and like. So look, I obviously want to give these guys as much credit as possible, and I want to give them as much spotlight as possible. So I'll think of a creative title for the video to try and get, you know, some of the guys who have maybe not heard these guys before to click onto the video. So look, it'll be interesting to see, lads. Make sure you drop a like to support the channel, to get this video on the algorithm, because like I said, they are a niche band, so I don't know how this is going to perform at all. So yeah, drop a like for the algorithm, drop a comment, and thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm signing out. Look after yourselves. I'll see you in the next video. Patreon.com/DrewFortune if you want to support the channel directly. Thank you very much for watching. Cheers.